So we all know that Tony Lockett is the record goal scorer in the AFL, with an absolute ridiculous 1,360 goals. With almost all the other top 10 have retired now gracefully, or spending their careers waffling away on Fox Footy, I thought it'd be fun to have a look at each club's highest goal kicker who is currently still playing. Adelaide, Tex Walker. When he's not getting into Twitter spats with other sports stars on social media, Tex is quite accomplished in front of the goals. Eddie Betts might be the likeable one who has played for Adelaide, who's currently in the system, but he has moved back to his spiritual home at CARLTON Football Club. But with an average of over 2 goals a game, the former captain Tex only needs 22 more goals to surpass Modra as Adelaide's all-time leading goal kicker. Brisbane, Dayne Zorko. I think this one shows just how valuable Dayne is to the system and how poor Brisbane have been since their glory years in the late 90s. The wily footballer in Zorko has always been a staple of this Brisbane side since making his debut all them years ago, and he should catch Luke Power and break into the 5th in all-time lists for Brisbane. Carlton, Eddie Betts. This feature really hits home for me as a Carlton fan of just how great Eddie Betts was in his first stint at Carlton. He's now about to embark on his second should this COVID ban ever stop. No forward has somehow been able to kick on in the 7 years since he's left the club. With 290 goals, he is a long way behind old Sticks at 738. But nonetheless, it's hard to see anyone in this current crop trumping Eddie Betts in the nearest future. Collingwood, Scott Pendlebury. He is only a few goals ahead of old Jamie Elliott, but Scott has been a staple of this Magpies side. 178 goals is a decent return for a player who, in his position and his ability, is more known for bringing players into the game. And this is exhibited by the fact that he's played with well over half of the top 10 goal kickers in Collingwood's leading goal kicking list. Essendon, Joe Daniher. Old sick note might surprise some of you, as he seems to spend a bit more time on the couch recuperating than he does on the field of football. But perhaps this is a credit to just how talented he is, and maybe I'm doing him an injustice. 188 big ones for Big Joe, and he leads the way 60 goals away from the next best at Essendon. Fremantle, Michael Walters. At 260 goals, Walter really goes about his work in an understated manner. Probably doesn't get the kudos as some other players do at Fremantle, and he's coming into his 30s now, and he's still got a long way to go to usurp old Pavlich there at the top of the tree on 700. He should set a nice benchmark though by the time he comes to retire for this young list to really aspire to. Geelong, Tom Hawkins. Old Tomahawk, eh? He seems to have been around forever. Like what do Geelong put in that drinking water? These players just don't seem to age. It might be the dad's army of the league, but he has booted an impressive 556 goals to sit 3rd in their all-time goal kickers list. He has Doug Wade in his sights and should take him out, who's just above him on 626, by the time old Tom hangs up his boots. Gold Coast, Tom Lynch. Some say he's the most complete forward in the game, and Tom Lynch, despite not being at Gold Coast for over 2 years, still leads the way by way over 100 from anyone else currently playing the game of football. Credit to him in them dark times. He didn't have much kick into him, but he still regularly snagged 2 goals a game, finishing with 254 in all of his appearances. GWS, Jeremy Cameron. The babies of the competition, the new boys, but with a big boy score in this chart. Jezza has been a beast, amassing 406 goals for his side in just 155 games. He leads the way by an absolute country mile, and with him looking like he's setting to re-sign because GWS have no salary cap, I expect to see a big score because he's got a lot of footy left in him. Hawthorn, Buddy Franklin. Well, the man, the myth, the legend. It's probably no surprise when you're going around playing with prime players such as Sam Mitchell, Luke Hodge, that you have a massive total and you are the biggest player in the last decade. He was booting 80 goals a year minimum at his peak, and playing for one of the best sides of the last decade. It is no surprise he is Hawthorn's current player leading goalscorer. With 580 goals kicked in his time at Hawthorn, he sits 5th on the all-time list, with daylight between him and the next best currently playing. Melbourne, Jesse Hogan. 152 for big boy Jesse, but it could have been so much more. This guy broke onto the scene and hit the ground running, but never really kicked on. He struggled with injuries, and as we know recently, since he's moved to Freo, he's had some open depression battles, and we really do hope he gets to find some happiness, get back on the field and really climb up the Freo ladder of goal kickers for them. A great player on his day, and the AFL is less for not having him around. North Melbourne, Ben Brown. Ben Brown doesn't feel like he's been around long enough to kick 280 goals, but somehow he has. The King sits at the top of the North ladder with 671, but with 5 years left in the tank minimum for Ben, there is an outside chance he picks him, especially with the current rate of goals per game as he's got. Given he has a gap as big as one of his run-ups kicking for goal against the next best on the list, he really has got all the hopes of North pinned on his rather impressive weave. Port Adelaide, Robbie Gray. Robbie has been a star for Port for what feels like an eternity, leading the way by just a hair's breadth from Old Westhoff with 318. He's got a long way to go to catch Treadray on 549, but even if he doesn't, what an absolute career nonetheless for old Robbie Gray. Richmond, Jack Riewoldt. They must have a conveyor belt of goal kickers down at Tigerland. Their top three is just a who's who of football. You've got Richo, you've got Bartlett, and then you've got this bloke, Jack Riewoldt, on 634. He might have slowed down, especially with the arrival of Tom Lynch, but there's no getting away from it. This guy is a premium goal kicker on his day and an absolute phenomenal legend of the Richmond Football Club and deserves his place in the top three. St Kilda, Tim Membrey. Members is a solid player, and he probably doesn't get the kudos he probably deserves. Mercurial in every sense of the word. 1 week he can kick 0-8, and the next week he can kick 5 goals 1. He's a long way off the king of them all though, in Lockett, who amassed a staggering 898 goals for the Saints. But with 170 from 92 games, as it stands is a great return, and there's still plenty of left in the tank for old Membry. Sydney, Buddy Franklin. It's probably no surprise that the only player to feature on our list twice is old Buddy. Buddy is an absolute freak of the game, and it's a credit to him that he's not only destroyed backlines at the likes of Hawthorn, but he also does it for Sydney, and it feels like forever that he's done in it. Should finish his career with Sydney just below Lockett, given he's on 364, and he will retire easily inside the top 10 leading goal kickers at both of his respective clubs. West Coast, Josh Kennedy. Oh, what might have been for Carlton, eh? Considering he was a player who never wanted to leave, it breaks the heart of a Carlton fan like myself to see this gentleman get 600 goals from 222 games and to lead the way on the all-time list, which really is a bitter pill to swallow. Still, a good couple of years in the tank for old Kennedy, and I'd imagine we're going to see a really good benchmark, maybe even has an outside chance of pushing that 700 boundary. The Bulldogs. Tory Dickson. 181 goals for the classy small forward. I'm a big fan of Tory's work, and it's case in point how the Doggies have built their side with goals spread across the 22, no matter what they do. There is a plethora, though, of players within touching distance. Bontempelli ain't too far behind either, so I suspect pretty soon someone will overtake him, but he's got a good chance of retiring as the leading goal kicker on that list. Thanks for watching, everyone. Please don't forget to like, share, and more importantly, subscribe to the channel. A lot of work goes into these videos. Please, in the comments, let me know who's your favourite in this list, and who do you think is going to usurp the players currently playing in the next crop. Have a great day, guys. PommyInOz out.